Welcome back to the XRHealth podcast, Therapy Without Limits. My name is Tim. We are joined today, as always, by Jess, and we're doing a very special interview today with one of our staff members. Our wonderful Martine will be joining us today for our episode. But a little intro about myself and about Jess. Like I said, my name is Tim. I'm one of our occupational therapists here at XRHealth. I've been an OT for about 5-ish years, predominantly working in hand therapy, upper limb rehab, and pediatric mental health. Jess, little intro for yourself, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I am the lead physiotherapist at XRHealth. I've been with the company for 5 years, almost. I have been a physio for 13 years, and I have a special interest in working with all walks of life, but particularly complex cases are the things that I really like to dig in and work out those puzzles. But less about me. Today we are joined by someone who's very special to us, who has been a big part of the XRHealth journey here in Australia, from way back in the early days to where we find ourselves today. Martine is the Vice President of Services in Australia for XRHealth, and has helped to shape how we deliver therapy in a way that is innovative, accessible, and what we think is genuinely life-changing. So Martine, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on. It's exciting to be part of the podcast today.
Yeah, awesome. So let's start with talking a little bit about yourself, Martine. And we're really interested to go back to the beginning, to the early days of XRHealth, and what first drew you to this company.
Yeah, I started back in 2020 when XRHealth was established in Australia. It was COVID times. It was not planned that way for the clinic to start then, but actually ended up working out quite well, where people had the mind shift that if they couldn't go to appointments, they could actually do them online. So telehealth became a bit of a norm, I guess, worldwide, especially here for us in Australia.
In that time, people weren't really going into clinics, especially I was in Victoria at the time, and I know, Martine, you're in Victoria. And yeah, it was definitely an interesting landscape down there in that COVID time. So no face-to-face appointments happening whatsoever. It really opened up that telehealth avenue for companies to use. So there was lots of health providers using telehealth, the doctors, allied health, and yeah, it really changed the landscape of opening up that telehealth modality, so that health funds were recognizing it and providing rebates for telehealth. And the NDIS also opened up those avenues at that point.
I was actually working for a physiotherapy company at the time, or prior to starting here, which actually closed down due to COVID because clients weren't able to go out to sessions or have their therapy sessions, which they still needed, but a face-to-face clinic actually closed down.
So what drew you to XRHealth at that point? Once that clinic closed down, what was sort of the process of you onboarding with XRHealth?
As you said, I'm located in Victoria. Our COVID restrictions out here were very, very strict. Being able to work remotely from home, especially having a child who does have additional needs and also is immunocompromised as well, working from home just seemed like a great idea. We came out to Australia through a pilot with Bupa Private Health Insurance, sent out an EDM to all their clients, letting them know about the new technology that had come out, that we are or XRHealth is a telehealth provider with virtual reality therapy. So it was something completely different that people hadn't seen or heard of before. And we were able to offer that service to private health insurance members. At that time, we were only offering physiotherapy services in Australia. We've now expanded to be a multidisciplinary allied health clinic from that point.
Yeah. So when you came on board, so you came on board in 2020?
Yeah, I did.
And back then it was a small company?
Yeah, it was quite small back then, and just offering that one therapy service being physiotherapy, trying to educate people what telehealth is like, and then adding on the VR aspect as well was definitely a little bit challenging and something different that was being offered. We did see a lot of people that were enjoying doing physio from home.
That's all really interesting, Martine. I think from my point of view, being in Western Australia, we obviously had a very different experience with COVID, putting up border gates so people couldn't get through, along with the virus,
Smart.
which was great. But we had similar challenges, working for me in a hospital setting, we had very, very strong PPE protocols, and it made a really negative experience for clients. So I think having the ability to offer telehealth in those early stages was really beneficial. And I think that's what draws me to XRHealth as a telehealth service, is it does make healthcare more accessible, which increases, patients actually coming to seek out therapy. But what were some of the biggest challenges during those early days? And what did the landscape look like for digital and immersive healthcare in Australia at the time?
It was very new. People weren't aware of what it actually was or how it could possibly work. Like, how could you possibly attend a OT appointment or a physio or a psych appointment without driving to a bricks and mortar clinic and having a face-to-face appointment? I think that it was a lot around education. We need to educate clients that we can deliver therapy via telehealth. It can be done online. So you don't need to go into a clinic or a hospital for therapy sessions. You can actually do it online. So I think once we started educating in that way, we were able to then move on to other challenges, which were in Victoria, especially being able to send out headsets to people and making sure they could collect them from the post office if they didn't answer the door for any reason. Also making sure that we could get staff as well. So you couldn't go and do face-to-face interviews with staff. It was all done via Zoom, which I guess is where Zoom really took off and we're still using every day here at XRHealth, like I'm sure many companies are. Being able to connect with our team, employ staff, onboard them as well. It was definitely challenging and different to anything I'd experienced before, because if you were onboarding someone, you would be in an office sitting next to each other, doing it face to face, very, very different via a Zoom call. And for clients, I think being able to troubleshoot and tech support for them, like just, you're getting a headset that's being delivered to your door. It's all set up ready. It's basically like a prescription headset. It's set up ready for you. You just need to turn it on and connect it to Wi-Fi. Being able to teach people that, because they'd never used VR before, they're just used to their computer at home and no other device really they're having to connect to the Wi-Fi. That was definitely a challenge and something that we're very, very good at now. We're able to easily talk people through how to connect the headset straight away, which makes it a lot easier for them.
And I think back in 2022, the VR space in Australia, it was very new. So there were not many companies back then that were providing VR therapy, as far as I know. Is that correct, Martine?
Yeah, definitely. There definitely wasn't people back then doing that. And I guess another challenge was for clients to explain to them that no, there is actually a clinician that's delivering this service to you. It's not all done through VR. You are seeing an APRA registered clinician. The VR headset is there as a tool in the clinician's tool belt that they're actually using to deliver evidence-based therapy. But yeah, the idea I think of VR it's definitely come a long way in the almost 6 years we've been out here now. It's come a long, long way in Australia for people to know what VR is, where previously they were like, virtual reality, like what actually is that? So we have improved since then in that education space.
I had a conversation on the weekend with a doctor. So it was someone that I met at a party who's a local doctor. And she was like, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, well, I provide VR therapy." And she was like, What is that?" And I was like, virtual reality. And she was like, "Oh," and just looked at me really blankly. I was like, "Okay." So so I
There's still
think even
education to do.
yes,
So funny.
there's still education to do. But I think that like entering the market back in 2020 when there was no other companies that were providing this service. So it was like an innovative approach back then. So it would have been difficult to get that awareness out there and have people realize that it is beneficial and what it is and how it works and how that works via telehealth. So it would have been challenging for a small company to deal with that as you were trying to grow in Australia in those early days. So we've talked about the company starting small in Australia back in 2020. So Martine, can you tell us a few of those standout milestones that XRHealth may have sort of hit in its journey here since then?
Yeah, so in the almost 6 years now, it does seem like a short time, but also a long time of how far we have actually come. So when we first started, as I mentioned before, it was a physiotherapy only clinic. I do still remember that pivotal sort of moment for us when we had a call from a support coordinator who is a mum who was a Bupa private health insurance and asked if we can do NDIS or can see NDIS participants at XRHealth. At that time, there was no reason why we couldn't. Being a mum of a child on NDIS, I do have a lot of NDIS knowledge personally myself. So I was able to talk to that mum slash support coordinator and explain that, yeah, we could definitely see her children via NDIS at XR Health. From there, we sort of blew up in that space. It wasn't an intentional way to go. It's just kind of become a product market fit, I guess, for us. And having participants or clients who are once they started doing physiotherapy via telehealth with VR, we were then sort of asked, what other services do we do? Can we do? I've had a child in therapy or doing therapy sessions with various allied health professionals from the age of 4. That child is now turning 18 next week. So I've had many, many years of experience of going through different therapists, OT, speech therapists, and I sort of know what it's like having to go and do the school pickup, then drive to a therapy appointment, sit and wait in the waiting room, have the appointment, then drive home in peak hour traffic, and then your mum job starts. You are making dinner and getting things ready. It's such a huge amount of time that's taken up. And that's from a mum perspective. For the child, it is a long time for them. And after a full day at school, then having to rush straight to an appointment is exhausting as well. So I think having telehealth services has definitely made it easier for both the parents or the caregivers and the client themselves.
I think that those children are accessing so many different therapies too. So they're in speech, they're in OT, they're seeing physio, they might have a psychologist. That's 4 therapists. That's
Absolutely.
4 appointments to attend. Where here at XRHealth, we're offering at the moment physio, OT, psychology. So often they will have one week and then the other the next week. So it's one appointment. Then there might be a third appointment that fits in there somewhere. But it's one appointment that they have to sit in front of a computer for rather than having to go and drive to 3 different locations.
Yeah,
It's huge.
absolutely.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I think the other benefit of that also is that with the VR headset, the headset is not locked, which a lot of people are surprised about. It's not just locked down to the appointment time. You can access the applications on the VR headset at any time. So I guess for traditional therapy, talking from my own experience, is you're going to take a child or an adult is going to a therapy appointment, and that's like a 1 hour appointment. You leave that, you go home. Do you do the homework? Do you not do the homework? I can confidently say that it was sometimes quite often missed, or it's not until the next week when you're going back or the next fortnight that you remember, oh, I didn't do the homework, didn't get them to do the therapy between sessions as well. With the headset, the fact that clients can actually use it between appointments, that the clinician can set a treatment plan or sort of homework tasks in between sessions, I think is a huge benefit that I think we definitely need to educate people more on, in that you're not just, when you're getting the headset, you're using it unlimited. You can do as many sessions as you like on that headset in between your appointments with the clinician. It's not just a once a week or once a fortnight use of the evidence-based therapy applications.
You were speaking about the milestones of starting out as a physiotherapy company, and then that support coordinator mum sort of contacted you and started talking about NDIS and started talking about the other services that we might be able to provide. So can you take us through that sort of transition from physio and where we went there?
Yeah, so from the physiotherapy space, we then started doing psychology services, which was also a very, very huge demand for that during COVID times as well. So we started doing psychology services, and then from there, we added on occupational therapy to our services. And a lot of clients, as you said before, they do multiple therapy services. So having it all in-house in one place and being telehealth makes it so much easier. You don't need to think of 4 different therapeutic companies that you need to email or call or talk to. It's all done in the one place. We are also a NDIS registered provider.
Is there any other therapies that XRHealth are thinking about adding to their belts, Martine?
Yeah, so we are adding in positive behavioural support services. We're also adding in speech therapy and exercise physiology as well. We have a lot of demand for these services and clients asking, if we do them. I do remember back, I think it was like in 2020 or 2021, at the time I was sort of asked, like, where do you see XR Health going like 5 years from now? And I remember saying, I would love, like, my personal plan or my personal excitement for XR Health is I would love to be involved in a multidisciplinary clinic. I would love to offer speech therapy, OT, psychology, exercise physiology, and also some other health services as well. Having everything under the one roof was definitely a personal goal of mine.
I was gonna say how great it is that we've got there, and it almost within 5 years too. If it was like 2021, we've pretty much hit that goal for you, which is amazing. You've done an amazing job at steering the ship and guiding the clinic and the company to this place, and I think it's great.
Yeah, definitely very happy with where we are and knowing that I was here right from the start of the Australian clinic. Yeah, it's very, very exciting and rewarding. I think also knowing what it's like as a parent trying to find therapy services for your children. I think XR Health is an amazing service provider that we can offer all these different therapies all under the one roof, making it easier for not just the parents and the caregivers, but also for the participants, the children, the adults who are needing our services. And it's also not just about driving to sessions and having to worry about that and that time saving aspect. We do have many clients who physically can't leave the home because they can't get transportation to services. If they can't actually cross that front door, I do have clients who find that, mentally very difficult to do. I think anxiety as well is another one. There's a lot of people that do suffer from anxiety and how crippling it actually can be. And the thought of wanting to go to a therapy session or an allied health service compared to actually doing it are two very different things. Being able to access it from home in your own familiar surroundings, being able to sit there and play with your fidget toy or have your dog on your lap or have your favorite blanket next to you or whatever it actually is. And these are actually examples that clients have actually given to us that they actually have done in their appointments, which is something that they may not do or may not access therapy if this wasn't available.
I think that's really, really interesting and really important from, I guess, your personal experience, Martine, with having a child that needs support and seeing that transitions from when he was 4 to all the way up to when they were 18. And accessibility for therapy is a big thing. And for XR Health to be able to provide so many different allied health workers to try and work with one child, it really does become a multidisciplinary team, which you don't often see in telehealth. I think from an accessibility point of view, how important do you find access of our service for people that are living in those remote or rural communities?
I think it can be a huge barrier for anyone living in a remote or rural community to be able to access consistent care, to be able to access therapies. Some people are located so far away that it's a 2 hour round or a 2 hour trip, sorry, 4 hour round trip for them to actually get to their therapy. That's a long time, I guess, for anyone having to sit in the car and drive or drive a child or adult that far to do an appointment. I think that telehealth and VR isn't just a convenience. Sometimes it is the only way that people can actually access therapy. Our platform removes that barrier for travel, waitlist, geography. It means that services can be delivered seamlessly to wherever the person is that actually needs it most.
I'm actually treating a few clients in rural WA at the moment, and yeah, their experience of, or just casually, I have to go to Bunnings, for example, and it's an hour drive, or I'm going to see my specialist and it's a 4 hour round trip. Like it's such an issue for these people to access good healthcare, and we can provide that in their home as long as they've got an internet connection.
Yeah, that's basically all they need is a stable internet connection so they can do their appointment online and with the VR headset.
That's it. And I think jumping on the back of that as well, it's a consistency of service as well. Like we consistently obviously show up for our clients, but they get that consistency of the same therapist every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever their routine is. And they know they're going to get the same person every single time. They're not going to show up and all of a sudden it's the therapist is sick or they're not available, they're running late and you have to see someone else. Like you get that consistency of care every single time.
It's definitely something, now that you mentioned that I think I've noticed in face-to-face therapy that, I've been involved in. There are a lot of clinicians who do need to call in sick because they can't be seeing clients when, the tail end of a cold. You don't want to have anyone who is
Immunocompromised.
immunocompromised, yeah, or sensitive to catching any colds or flus that go around. And sometimes, like in yourself, you can feel perfectly fine to go to work, but you might still have a bit of a sniffle. I have found that with telehealth and telehealth clinicians, that they can get back to work sooner and want to get back to work sooner because, if they do have to have a cough for a second or have a drink of water or whatever, it's very different to being face to face and doing that to being, in the comfort of your own home if you are at the tail end of something.
I was also going to make the point, I find telehealth that it's much easier to stay on time. I was always running late because there's more things going on. There's more things that you're doing in that space. So I might treat their neck and then their shoulder and then their knee. So I'm treating all of these different areas. Whereas if we're telehealth, I'm using my visual skills the whole time. So the direction that I'm giving them is from the skill that I have in seeing what's going on with their body and then prescribing the exercise. So I'm much more likely to stay on time than what I was when I was face to face.
I think it makes us more efficient as therapists as well, which sounds really silly, but I am very aware of my time parameters in the context of telehealth, where it's very easy when you're treating someone one-on-one to get sort of lost in what you're doing. And then you look at the clock and you're like, oh, appointment ended 10 minutes ago. I don't find that happens to me as much when I'm doing telehealth. I feel like I'm really, strict on time.
And you've got everything in front of you. You've got their notes, which you can have open while you're also talking to them. So you've got that ability to stay really informed in the session. Like you don't have to be like, oh, I need to check in the notes later of what they had on that surgery or whatever it is that you need to check on. You've got it. You've got their notes open right in front of you that you can see, that you can refer to all the time. So I just find that efficiency is there as well. And your note taking is really accessible because you're sitting in front of your computer the whole time as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Off the back of that, I think we have a lot of positive interactions with our patients. I know I love working with our clients and the participants that we work with. Martine, from your point of view, being on more of the admin and operational side of things, are you able to share a moment or some feedback from some families that really captured the impact of XRHealth?
Yeah, I think over the years there's definitely been a lot of moments and a lot of feedback from clients. There's a couple that do stand out when there was a lady who was or is wheelchair bound. And I remember her calling in and in tears and explaining that how grateful she was that she was able to use the VR headset and explore the Great Barrier Reef. And she said, never in my lifetime did I actually think I would ever get to see the Great Barrier Reef. And this is just something off my bucket list that I have been able to see, which would not have been possible without VR. I also remember other guardians of participants who were very, I guess, apprehensive and didn't think that their child would actually engage in services. They said, look, I'm going to give it a try because it'll be so much easier for me. I have multiple children who need therapy services. It's wishful thinking, but let's just see how they go. So the parent didn't, or the carer didn't actually think that the children would be able to continue, just wanted to try it out to just as something different because they weren't engaging in therapy elsewhere. They are still engaged, are loving it, love the VR, love the applications and also the clinicians that they see. They don't see it as therapy because it's different. It's not going in and having to, talk about feelings. You're using the VR and you are in, evidence-based scenarios and applications, and you are doing your therapy work in there, guided by the clinician. So it is still therapy, but the children are not seeing it as, what they've grown up to know therapy is. walking into a white room and sitting down with someone and talking and feeling sort of intimidated, I guess, in some ways. I've also had parents who have called and said, like, my child has autism. There's no way they'll wear a headset. I don't know how this is going to work, but I have no other options. I don't know what else to do to help my child. I don't know how else to get them to engage in therapy. So I'm just going to give this a go, but there's no way that they'll put a headset on their head. And talking through with them that that's fine. There's different ways that we can try that. We do have the MetaQuest headsets with the Elite strap so that you can loosen and tighten the headset at the back, and also just giving them some tips, I guess, like try it with do they wear baseball caps or hats? Yes, they do. Okay, try put a baseball cap on backwards and then put the headset over the top of that. Have also had someone who has been very sensitive to, like, very sensory. So saying to them, they were talking in conversation about their child's favorite fleecy snuggle blanket that they've got. And it was a thin sort of fleecy one, and saying, maybe try putting that on their head first, not covering the eyes, obviously, but put that on the head first and then put the headset on top. And to have the parent call back and say, like, I would never have thought of that. That was amazing. They love wearing it. They feel safe and comfortable wearing the headset with their fleecy snuggle blanket on their head as well. And have had others that also have used silk, like a silk scarf or something over their head. Some of them use it as a transition. Others are like, no, we just love this. They keep doing it. So it's just very different ways of using the headset, being adaptive. And I think that's one thing that all our clinicians are very, very good at, is being able to know that it's not a one size, like, nothing is one size fits all. There needs to be adaptation. I think having innovative ways to offer therapy that's engaging, that's fun, that the clinicians can do with the clients, I think is definitely a major draw card to XRHealth, VR therapy, and telehealth therapy.
Awesome. So if we just change gears a little bit and start to wrap up, Martine, can you let us know what you're most proud of in your journey with XRHealth?
Oh, I think there's a lot of things. The team that we've created here, we have an amazing team of clinical and non-clinical staff working at XRHealth. They're all very, very engaged and excited for the therapy that they actually deliver. The consistency of care that we do deliver to clients, like knowing the change we're making, is huge. Like it's something like deeply personal. It's really almost empowering, that the difference that we're making to families, to children, to people that would not otherwise be accessing care, I think is really, really something I'm very, very proud of. And also the therapies that we now offer, our range of applications. It's not just, boring therapy. We have a huge range of applications, from exposure therapy. There's applications on range of motion, relaxation, mindfulness, focus. We have a huge library of applications that is consistently growing. We're putting a lot of time and effort into growing our VR library or application library, and ensuring that we are actually delivering evidence-based care.
Martine, giving you the final question, it's a bit of I think it's an important one. So no pressure, of course. But if someone was listening to the podcast right now, they're brand new to this whole sort of space that we work in, what's one thing that you'd want them to know about XRHealth?
Oh, that is a very interesting question. I think not to be afraid of technology, not to be afraid of telehealth, and trying something new, knowing that, even if it is a last resort, that you've tried all different therapy models before that haven't worked and your child won't engage, or you find it difficult to engage, trying out XRHealth could be life-changing for you or your child, knowing that, we do offer a quality service via telehealth. It is AHPRA registered clinicians that are delivering the service, with evidence-based therapy applications as well. And it is not hard to set up. You're sent the VR headset to your home after you're approved for VR, and it's all ready for you to go. You just have to connect to Wi-Fi, which is simple.
Awesome. That's a great place to leave it, I think. So thanks for joining us on the podcast, Martine. It's been great looking back and seeing how far XRHealth has come, and for you to share your experience and your journey with this company in Australia. It's been great.
Thanks for having me on.
It's been lovely. So join us next month when we take a carer's perspective and speak to one of our participants' family members and find out what XRHealth Services looks like from their perspective.